Why the prices of onion go high in the month of August and September? Why it is happening every year and the government is not able to do anything about it? If the dad's salary is 25k, the salary will remain to be 25k for a long period of time, maybe a year or two. But is the expenditure fixed? Because the interest rate is less here, obviously the choice of the government will be to go for special WMA first, because the interest it has to pay is less than 1%. Pump money or withdraw money? Whenever the selling of bonds is happening, the idea is to withdraw the money from the market. The moment the buying is happening, what is that? Pumping of money in the market. This measure of inflation excludes these items because their prices are much more volatile. And I want to know in the long term what is my inflationary trend. Topic number 30. थोड़ा लंबा टॉपिक है inflation. I think lot of topics related to inflation I would have kept. Inflation, reflation, skewflation, allflations. ठीक है? Yeah. Yesterday we discussed a little about inflation. Inflation, good, bad. We said that inflation is generally considered to be good for the economy, provided it is within the acceptable limits. It is accepted globally that around 3 to 4% of inflation is okay, but it depends on the economy also. In countries like America, countries like European countries and advanced countries, even 1% inflation is considered to be very high inflation. But now the IMF forecast say 9.5%, that is how they are all in shock. So when a country becomes advanced, economy becomes settled to the noises of the market, it is said that inflation starts contracting. 1%, 1.5% is also considered to be very high inflation. There is a word called emerging market economies, EMEs. Hello, with me? Emerging market economies. These are the economies where, what are these emerging market economies? NCERT. Bolo. Emerging market economies. How do you define an economy to be an emerging market economy? Come on, basic सवाल है. तुम लोग इंटरव्यू में रोगे. Take 2 kerchiefs, 2 pockets. ठीक है? You enter like this, sir. Chapan sir. What is an emerging? How do you identify an economy to be an emerging market economy? What is that particular visible trait in the economy? क्या? Gradually moving away from dependence on agriculture to allied activities, to industrial activities, to services activities. Any emerging market economy, can it be a predominantly agricultural economy? No, it has to have that upward movement where agriculture becomes a dormant economic activity and allied sectors, industries, services become the dominant part of the economy. So those economies are known to be emerging market economy. Understand this, where the role of the government in the economic dimension is also starts getting limited. Government does not take part much in decision making, only regulatory work the government does. It does not decide how much to be produced, how far to be produced. Now that's the reason why yesterday I said we are not a pure market economy. Why? Because the moment we feel that the production of wheat is not sufficient, immediately what the government will do, it will say stop export, you cannot export now. It means there is a market intervention, government intervention. If India was a pure market economy, no matter what happens to the production in that particular year, no matter the buffer stocks are falling, the government will not interfere. It will allow the market forces of demand and supply to take care. But in a country like India, government also intervenes. That is the reason why we have lot of control restrictions on the exports and imports. It means that we are still not that is the reason why they are using a word emerging market economies, not completely settled market economies. We are emerging market economies, where the government intervention is felt and carried out as and when deemed necessary, not beyond that, right. The second dimension is the predominance of agriculture gradually reduces, the services sector and the manufacturing sector takes the major share of economic activity. So these are these. Now, when you talk about inflation, we always talk from the perspective of purchasing power of consumer. Understand this. Whenever we talk about inflation, it is with the perspective of the purchasing power of a consumer, what he is giving. See, that's the reason why when we talk about purchasing power parity, PPP, the three letters, no, PPP. Say for example, there is a burger in America. That burger is available for $1. In India, that burger is available for say 140 rupees. Now what is the purchasing power parity? Same burger, same McDonald's, same shop, same bread, same make, everything same. But there it is available for $1, here it is available for 140, 150 rupees. It means when it comes to purchasing power parity, the $1 is equal to 140 rupees. But what is the exchange rate? 80 rupees. It means there may be a possibility that the purchasing power parity may not match with the perfect exchange rate. There are many factors that will come into play. That is the reason why it is said that this is called golden arch theory. Golden, McDonald's na golden arch na M. It is said that whichever country McDonald का store है, branch है, wherever the McDonald store is there or branch is there, America will never invade that country. Because the moment America invades that country, क्या effect हो जाएगा? पैसा जाएगा. And McDonald's contributes largely to the revenue capacity of America. America will never attack that country. So understand how economy is underplaying geopolitics. Understand this time. So till such time McDonald's store is in there Hyderabad, don't worry, no missile of America will hit Hyderabad. Okay, happily enjoy. Okay. Now, when we talk about the purchasing power of the consumers, we say that the rich person is not affected by inflation. It is the poor person whose income source is fixed. Understand this dimension. The source of revenue is fixed, but expenditure is planned as per the revenue. Garib aadmi ka, a poor man, middle class family, the revenue is fixed, expenditure is not fixed. Expenditure is always accumulated, but the revenue is fixed. If the dad's salary is 25k, the salary will remain to be 25k for a long period of time, maybe a year or two. But is the expenditure fixed? No. The expenditure may be this or maybe this. During festivals, it is this. During lean periods, it may be this. But generally, it is this. Festival, birthdays, and all. Right? We are a country. That's the reason why India में recession कभी आ ही नहीं सकता. Recession is, what is recession definition? क्या? 2 quarters क्या? 30 ml के 2 quarters. हाँ, बोलो. What 2 quarters? Negative growth rate, GDP growth rate for 2 consecutive quarters with respect to a base year. Hello, very important. Base year is very important with respect to a base year or time period. Now, for 2 consecutive quarters means for 6 months. Now, that is when you are saying recession is coming. Now, understand, when we talk about inflation, when I said this is fixed and this is not fixed, any increase in this because of increase in the cost has a negative effect on the family. So that is how inflation is not only measured at the consumer level, it is also measured at the wholesale level. That is why in India inflation is measured at CPI also and WPI also. Very important facts, which is measured by whom, when, released by whom, when, very important. UPSC का favorite topic for UPSC. CPI, what is the periodicity, WPI, what is the periodicity, and the baskets also should be known to you. Now, when I talk about the inflation, understand we are basically talking about the value of cash holdings will erode. It means that whatever money you have at your disposal, the value will erode, not the quantity. Earlier you had 25,000, maybe you were saving 2,000 rupees per month, or after meeting all the expenses. If inflation increase, maybe this savings will become zero, and maybe there is a possibility that you will take loan to take care of the expenditure also. That is how the value of the cash holdings are eroding. Okay? This is a fact, Ministry of Statistics and all. Some causes that lead to inflation are increase in demand, reduction in supply. Yes, demand supply gap. Two types of inflation we talk now. Cost push inflation, demand pull inflation. Cost push is basically as a result of the input cost increasing in the production, the what you call overall cost of a product can increase. Can you give me an example? Input cost increasing and the cost of production increasing. Simple, increase in the cost of petrol, increasing the cost of electricity charges. If that increase, the cost of production will increase. So this is called cost push inflation. And what is this demand pull inflation? When a product demand increases, the supply remains constant, it is called a demand pull inflation. Can you give me an example of a demand pull inflation? Can you give me an example of a demand pull inflation? Huh? Wheat. Huh? iPhone. Huh? Huh? Gold. Yeah, excellent example, gold. Akshay Tritiya. Have you ever heard before Akshay Tritiya the gold value fell? Never happened. The moment Akshay Tritiya is coming closer, if you what you call track the rate of gold, the graph will go like this. The moment Akshay Tritiya goes, the graph will fall like this. Another festival is in the back, again the graph will try to come like this. Understand this. So any inflation, whenever it is as a result of a particular event or a particular demand in the economy based on some ritual or something, the demand will increase. This is a classic example of demand pull inflation. Try to understand the difference, a question may come. Increasing in input cost, devaluation of currency and rise in the wages. Very, very important point. Please make a note of all the 4 points that may lead to inflation, and last point is also there. Rise in inflation, wages. If you were earlier getting 25,000 rupees as salary, the moment your salary becomes 50,000, instead of Samsung you will buy an iPhone. Instead of Pulsar you will go on Bullet. If you are already going on Bullet, you will try to buy a car. So that is how inflation can be a result of increase in wages also. See, this increase in wages with respect to inflation is the most researched topic related to inflation. How people will ask for more wages the moment inflation is high. That is why the government has a dimension called DA, dearness allowance. They will not increase the salary, they will say your dearness allowance may be increased accordingly. Okay? Yeah. What is reflation? The moment there has been a contraction in the economy for some period of time, the government will try to revive the economy. How to revive the economy? The easiest way to revive the economy is a tax cuts. Earlier, if I was paying 30% tax, if now I am told to pay only 15% tax, it means disposable money in my hand is increased. So I will use that money to purchase something. That is how the economy spiraling effect will happen. So in a reflation scenario, the government will try to include tax cut with an intention to increase the money supply and lowering the interest rate. The moment interest rate is lowered, that's why you would have seen before Diwali, SBI will announce we have reduced our interest rates by 2.25% or 0.5%. Earlier the EMI per 1 lakh rupees was 1700. Now the EMI per 1 lakh rupees will be only 1600 or 1555. So what will happen? It will force people to go and take loan. So that is how lowering interest rate. If the question will come in prelims, which of the following can be visible in a reflationary economy? Reduced taxes, more spending by the government, money supply increasing, and lastly lowering the interest rate. Combination mein one word he will play here and there and will give you a combination question. So understand, reflation is an economic situation where the government is doing everything to spiral the economy, Skewflation is what? Skewflation, skewed means the effect of inflation is felt only in certain sectors of the economy. So this is called skewflation, the rise in the prices of some items while remaining items prices remain the same. Example, seasonal rise in the prices of onion. The moment August comes, the moment September comes, you see that there is a spike in the rises of onions. Why it happens? One of the economic surveys spoke about this. Why this happens? Why only in the month of August and September the onion prices goes 100 rupees per kg also, no? Very common. साल में एक बार होता है, but हर साल होता है. How and why? Please, why the prices of onion go high in the month of August and September? Why it is happening every year and the government is not able to do anything about it? That is the reason why the government tries to tell hoarding of onions from the June se shuru ho jayega. The moment your exam is over, June se you will start, the government will say any wholesaler or any dealer what you call hoarding onions, so that by August, September the price increases, he will be punished. So they will have stipulated quantities how much a wholesaler can keep with him. So the government is basically trying to regulate the supply of onions correctly. Now maximum, the reason why the supply of seasonal rise in the price is happening is, what these people do is they hoard onions for a couple of months with them and they try to disturb the supply of onions in the market. When the demand is equivalent and the supply falls, obviously the price goes high. So it is basically a supply side bottleneck which is created artificially by the wholesaler, which is one of the major reasons for the prices of onion to go high seasonally once in every year in the month of August and September. Okay? And stagflation is what? Stagflation. See, whenever you see, when we talk about inflation, तुम बात करते हो ना real GDP, nominal GDP, बात करते हो ना, one is affected, one is corrected for inflation, the other is not corrected for inflation. Are yes or no? Okay. Now when you see the inflation is going high in an economy and the same time the growth is going down, it is called a situation of stagflation. On one side the increase in the inflation is happening, on the second side the growth is going down. The classic example is your Pakistan. Classic example is Pakistan, where the inflation is going high. Today petrol in Pakistan is 285, around 300 rupees per liter, and the growth is going in negative. On one side there is inflation, the other side growth is going down. See, if growth is positive and inflation is also going parallelly positively with that, it is acceptable. But if there is no growth and inflation going high, it is not acceptable. Okay? Understand this. Cantillon effect is, understand, I have infused money, it is a result of that. It is not natural rise in the high. I have introduced money into the market with a specific intent, but because I have introduced money into the market, it had positive effect only on some and negative effect on some. This is as a result of money, fiat money getting introduced. The Cantillon effect, if you were what you call Zimbabwean story, is a classic example of Cantillon effect only. What they did, they only continued to print money irrespective of not understanding. There was a time when in Zimbabwe, cost of one bread became $10 trillion of Zimbabwean dollars. Because they did not apply their head and continue to print money. Deficit financing. Hello, deficit financing. They started using printing money as source of financing the deficit. So that is how the cost inflation went. The Cantillon effect there happened primarily because of people, a lot of cartoons are there. People are taking money in gunny bags to buy a loaf of bread. Understand, this is how Cantillon effect will happen. In India it is difficult. In India it is difficult. See, that's why understand the independence of regulatory authority in an economy is so important, that when that regulatory authority is saying this is not good for the economy, the government should listen. But what happens is the political ambition sometimes forces you to take a decision which is against the economic principles. So that is where the problem will come. Same happened with Pakistan. See, you see, one classic example is, if a country is struggling economically, somewhere in that country the independence of the regulatory authority was compromised in the past. That is the reason why people say the independence of certain institutions is very important, like your defense, like judiciary, like your Reserve Bank of India, which is the central bank of the country, because people who are experts who are sitting there, they know what will happen if some action is taken on ground. So they will tell the government, this is not the right time to do this. This is not the right time to do this at all, or this is not the time to do it at all. The same was the case with demonetization. The then governor of RBI kept on telling, this is the time when the economy is on the upper trajectory. If you do demonetization today, it will have a negative effect on the economy for long time. So it is said that it was purely a political decision to go for demonetization, but it did not have any economic benefits. So these kind of decisions will have a negative effect on the economy. Okay? Yeah, inflation related concept, core inflation and headline inflation. Core inflation is basically related to two dimensions important from the core inflation. One is food and fuel are eliminated. Now the idea is to have because see, the food and related products are volatile. The food and fuel products are known to be volatile in their pricing. Generally it so happens that today the vegetable, say for example, you buy potato generally for 20 rupees a kg. Suddenly tomorrow it may be 25 or it may be 15 also. So it is generally volatile. So whenever you want to calculate inflation from a long term perspective, it is always advisable to remove the items which are volatile in nature. So whenever we are wanting to do that, we call it as core inflation. In core inflation is the change in the cost of goods and services, but does not include those from the food and energy sectors. This measure of inflation excludes these items because their prices are much more volatile, and I want to know in the long term what is my inflationary trend. So for that particular reason, I will go for core inflation. It is most often calculated using the consumer prices index, which is a measure of prices for goods and services. For the core inflation, it is basically the CPI index which I mostly use. Okay? When it comes to headline inflation, it is a measure of total inflation. It is a measure of total inflation within an economy, right? Including commodities such as food and energy prices, which tend to be much more volatile and prone to inflationary spikes. Headline inflation may not present an accurate picture of economics influence. In prelims, he will give which of the following inflation measurements gives you an more accurate measurement of inflation. Short term measurement of inflation, long term measurement of inflation, core. Okay? So they will try to ask a question depending on your understanding about inflation के बिना prelims का paper नहीं रहेगा. One, if you are lucky or unlucky, if you don't know, two questions will surely come from the inflation topic. Okay? Yeah, this is also in news, the phases of economic cycle. See, understand, listen, economy cannot be like this. Economy always has 4 cycles, a trough, an expansion, a peak and a fall. So this is how an economy will go through these 4 cycles. Now the idea is how much time you can remain here, how much time you will remain here, how much time you will take to come out of this particular situation. This defines the strength of that particular economy. No economy, no matter whichever is the strongest economy in the world, even that economy will see this kind of situation where there will be a fall in the economic activity. But if you are not able to come back from this contraction to the recovery at the earliest, that is when your recession happens. That is why recession is the fall in the recession is fall in the or negative growth rate for 2 consecutive quarters. And if you are not able to come out of this, that is when you are said that you are going into a recession. If you are not doing this, there is not a recessionary phase. If you are not able to, and if you are remaining here for more than a year, that is when you are facing depression. You are facing depression for more than a year. If your recession continues for more than a year, it means that the economy is facing your depression. You remember the 1929-30, the year of Great Depression. Year of Great Depression, which happened in the entire world. The entire world contracted for more than a year. There was no recovery process in the entire world, and this was one of the reasons for the Second World War. One of the reasons for the second. The moment the depression happens, what will we do is we stop interacting with the outside world. So that is how one of the reasons for the World War II is also the Great Depression period. So the 4 cycles are expansion, peak, contraction and recovery. Please make a note of this. Expansion, reaching a peak, then you contract and then you try to recover. Now the idea is, understand, always remaining in the peak is also not good. Understand this. In an economy, always remaining in the peak is also not good. Remaining in this phase is the best, as long as you can expand the expansion of your economy. But the problem is, with expansion will come peak, and with peak you will have a contraction. Now the biggest challenge, the strength of any economy is defined here from this, how much time you will take to go high. That signifies the strength of that economy. This is when the institutional capacities will be put to test. This is when the country's credit worthiness will be put to test. Whenever these credit rating agencies give you the, what you call their ratings, in international we have 2 to 3 of them, no? S&P is there, Moody's is there, Fitch is there. These are the 3 internationally acclaimed credit rating agencies. They give you maximum. I told you global financial crisis. The crisis happened, America went here, but the entire world struggled to bring America back to this. That showcases the strength of your economy. The strength of your economy is not showcased here. The strength of economy is not determined कि तुम्हारा economy नीचे गया. No, the recovery path, how quick, how fast and how upscale your recovery becomes, that defines the strength of your economy. Expansion, peak, contraction and recovery. Recovery is the one of the most important. Okay? Now, recession and depression we have covered. Recession also we said, if the economic activities are reduced in a comparative scale for 2 consecutive quarters, you say that that particular economy is facing recession. And presently it is said that most of the world except for India is facing a recession. Okay? Is about to face recession in the near future as per the estimate of IMF. The decrease in gross domestic product that lasts for at least 2 quarters. It is a slowdown in economic activity. Recessions are common enough events to be considered a normal part of the economic cycle. Please underline this word. Please write. Recessions are common. There is nothing to worry when the recession happens, because you have to create scenarios where the recovery is also faster. Okay? And a period of expansion is also followed by a period of contraction also. And a depression is a severe drop in GDP that lasts for more than a year. It is characterized by massive, please make a note of this. In the phase of depression, you will see these things. What will be the characteristics? massive job losses will be there, widespread bankruptcies would be there, steeply declining prices for goods and services will be there. Declining, very, very important. Declining prices for goods and services will be there. Understand? Listen, listen. What will happen is, job loss happened. It means your purchasing capacity decreased. I manufactured this pen for 10 rupees and decided to sell it for 20 rupees, 10 rupees ka profit. Understand? Now, your capacity to pay, you became bankrupt. Now, will you be able to sell this for 20 rupees now? No. You will have to definitely reduce the price. Declining prices of goods and services. Understand this? So, that is how, see why the government is more worried about unemployment. Employment. Kyunke with employment comes the power to purchase. So, the economy can spiral. Understand this dimension. That is the reason why maximum attention is given to this. So that the moment people are employed, automatically the economy will revive. Because people will get jobs, people will earn. The purpose of earning is to spend. Understand this. We do not want to do job to save. Hello. The aim is to have old monk every day. Okay, that's why, understand. See, understand this one of the interviews in by Brahmanandam, you know what he says. Whenever we pray for others, we always say Andaru baagundali. This is what we say, Andaru baagundali. Kani nakanna baagundali. Everybody should be good, but not better than me. That you know, selfish dimension will come. So that happens here also. Understand this logic. Very, very important slide. Please make a note of it as it is. Though it is self-explanatory, we will still talk. Important from prelims perspective is your J curve is important from your prelims perspective. Currency devaluation and trade 2023 J curve is important. And the Great Gatsby curve is also important, the last one. This curve very beautifully talks about a parent is there settled, the son or the next generation is there. They will struggle to reach the capacity of the parents very much. This is what this curve talks about. Great Gatsby curve. Income inequality and upward mobility. Baki Laffer curve, tax rates and tax revenue. We will talk about this tax buoyancy, tax elasticity. Nagarjuna Rasko amma photo diskoku Rasko. Mobile phone will not be allowed in the examination hall. So please make a note better. The famous Philip curve you all read, no? Inflation and unemployment. With rising inflation, unemployment reduces. Good. With rising inflation, unemployment reduces. So there is a trade-off. There is a trade-off. Understand this trade-off. Trade-off is, if you try to control inflation too much, then unemployment will go high. Understand this. Okay. Then comes your Kuznets curve. Kuznets curve, this is actually the E. Kuznets curve. Environment ka jahan pe hai, it is an E. Kuznets curve basically. Otherwise he talks about economic growth and inequality. Economic growth and inequality is the Kuznets curve. If you are lucky, one question will come from this slide. Kuznets curve. Then the Rahan curve is basically related to the growth rate and the government spending. How much government spending has contributed towards the growth. It is your Rahan curve, R-A-H-N. Rahan curve. Laffer curve is tax rates and tax revenue. Lorentz is income inequality and population. Income inequality and population. Then this Beveridge curve, job vacancy and unemployment. This is the Gini coefficient, no? Remember 0 and 1. Gini coefficient, income inequality in the society. Gini coefficient is taught in the foundation classes. Gini coefficient. Pujita? Gini coefficient, income inequality. If it is 0, it is a perfectly, hello, Gini coefficient. 1 and 0 denotes what? Rashmi, 0 denotes perfect. Zero denotes what? One denotes perfect. Zero denotes perfect equality और अनइक्वालिटी. हाँ, कौन बोलेगा? गिनी कोएफिशिएंट denoted by one is perfectly unequal society. What is the Gini coefficient of India? Google करो, box बनाओ. Gini coefficient of India, very very important topic from prelims. What is the Gini coefficient of India? Inequality quotient of India. See, when we were students, no, nobody taught us. मैं किसी दिन मेरे students को I wanted to show my notes when I was a student. ठीक है, कुछ भी नहीं बताया. The most sadful part is the same person is still teaching there. Some people are able to relate what I am saying. Very important from examination, this slide, please be careful. Recovery, what all we see in the news, no? V-shaped recovery, U-shaped recovery, W-shaped recovery, L-shaped recovery. So these are the various recovery paths that will happen. I told you the last part of the cycle is very important. Recovery cycle. Long time back we heard the economy is facing a V-shaped recovery. It means immediate recovery from a expansion peak, and third was contraction in the economy. It says quick recovery, immediate growth, decline followed by quick global recovery within 2 to 3 months is a perfect example of V-shaped recovery. Topic number 30. 32 कैसे होगा रे? 33. Topic number 33. And U-shaped recovery is when compared with V-shaped recovery, slower return to the growth trend is your U-shaped recovery. In the economic survey last year, it spoke about V-shaped recovery of India after the COVID-19 pandemic. So it spoke about India's immediate V-shaped recovery within 2 to 3 months of contraction in the GDP, within the GDP. And the U-shaped is, it is also quick, but on comparison with the V-shape, it is little delayed. General bracketing we use is 4 to 6 months of time period to recover. Basically 2 quarters to recover. So that's the thumbnail. W is multiple waves of rebound. See here, a rebound is happening, but again contraction happens, then it goes for a longer trajectory of recovery. So the one dimension is here a rebound, preventing overall long-term economic stabilization or recovery, but allowing the targeted recoveries. It means the entire economy may not recover, certain segments may immediately recover, certain segments may struggle to recover. In the COVID-19 pandemic, you would have seen agriculture did not get affected. Agriculture was probably the only sector where the effect of COVID was minimal to negligible. So that sector will continue to see this while the other sectors are seeing a steep fall. So in a W recovery, there would be a rebound in some sectors, but maybe a contraction in a certain sector. So it is basically W recovery, and L recovery is basically leading to a situation of recession, where severe decline without any return to growth for many years, not months, for many years the economy will continue to remain like this. Why will this happen? Because of one important factor: political instability may lead to L-shaped recovery, where the recovery may not happen. L-shaped recovery. If there is political instability and you do not have any golden product like oil or anything to be traded with the world, then your recovery will become a L-shaped recovery. That's why the Arab countries, though they keep fighting, some or the other war, nonsense war, they'll keep fighting, immediate recovery will happen. Why? Because they have the golden product oil. What would they have to do? They have to increase the production, and that's how they can recover faster. India luckily does not have, or unluckily does not have, any such product. Okay? Various stances of the monetary policy related to inflation. Please make a note. Important from your prelims perspective. First is the accommodative stance, right? Accommodative stance means basically it is trying to, the government or the RBI is trying to accommodate for the less supply of money. What it is doing? It is prepared to expand the money supply to boost the economic growth. So it is called accommodative stance. When the accommodative stance happens, the RBI will reduce the interest rate or increase the interest rate? It will, why increase? Reduce the interest rate. When the interest rate is reduced, then only the money supply will be increased, no? You will purchase a housing loan if I reduce the interest rate or increase the interest rate. Okay? Understand this. Logical. The moment it is accommodation, it means making money available easily to the market or the economy. So that is how accommodative policy. That is when, understand, whenever the repo rate is reduced, the next day article will say the monetary policy's accommodative stance resulted in the reduction of the repo rate, thereby increasing the money supply in the market. It is called accommodative stance. It is trying to accommodate the non-availability of money by reduce. See, if the RBI reduces the interest rate, it is losing revenue, no? Because it is losing revenue, but it is accommodating that loss of revenue for a greater cause of reviving the economy. Understand? That's why it is called accommodative stance. The central bank during an accommodative policy period is willing to cut the interest rates. Pujita, right? A rate hike is ruled out. A rate hike in a accommodative period or accommodative policy is ruled out. The central bank typically adopts an accommodative policy when growth needs policy support and inflation is the not immediate concern. Understand this. Where inflation is, see, inflation and growth, they are dichotomy. Understand this. Inflation and growth. If you try to control inflation strongly, the growth will get suffered. The beauty is, while inflation is a monetary policy or a monetary tool, growth is a fiscal policy or a fiscal tool. See, if the economy is not growing, whom will you blame? Government. Are you blaming RBI? No. But if the inflation is not under control, whom you are blaming? RBI and not the government. But government, yes, अनपढ़ आदमी गवर्नमेंट को गाली देगा, पढ़ा लिखा आदमी आरबीआई को गाली देगा. ठीक? Now, understand, if RBI tells I am not concerned with the growth because I am responsible for controlling the inflation, I am not going to give you the money even if the economy is suffering. Will that be a good thing? No. That's why monetary policy, price stability, The end was statement क्या था? At the same time ensuring sustainable growth also. So though the responsibility of the growth is not given to RBI, but RBI keeps that in mind when it tries to control the inflation. So even if this cutting the interest rate, boosting the economy with money, if it is happening at the cost of inflation also, RBI does not mind. It means the inflation takes a back seat in an accommodative stance. Prelims में ऐसा ही सवाल आएगा. The idea of controlling inflation takes a back seat in which of the following stances of the monetary policy? The answer is accommodative stance. Neutral stance. A neutral stance suggests that the central bank can either cut or increase rate. Please write as it is. Neutral does not mean it will not increase. It can either cut or it can increase the rate. It can do anything when it is neutral. When it is neutral stance. This stance is typically adopted when the policy priority is equal on both inflation and growth. Where both are there, where the policy priority, the policy of the RBI, where the policy priority is both on growth and inflation, the RBI can do anything. It can cut or it can increase the rate. The guidance indicates that the market can expect a rate action or either way at any point. So anything can happen. A rate cut or a rate increase can happen. Okay? It depends on the policy stance. Okay? Hawkish stance, very, very important. For example, we said that, listen, for example, January, February, March 2022, April, May, June 2022, 6 months, inflation was above 6%. We said RBI is responsible to control the inflation in a bracket of 4% plus minus 2%. So either 2% or maximum 6%. I am telling you the first quarter, January to what you call March, second quarter, April to June 2022, inflation was 6% and above. In this scenario, it is the primary responsibility of the RBI to control the inflation, and the easiest tool that the RBI has in its hands to control the inflation is to cut the supply of money in the market. So in a hawkish stand, what will be the net effect on the interest? It will be a rate hike. It will hike the interest rate with an intention to curb the money supply and thus reduce the demand. So what RBI will do? Repo rate is not 5%, repo rate is 7%, for example. So the intention here is to cut the supply of money in the market because too much of money is following too little goods. So it is creating a inflationary trend in the economy. So when inflation is visible in the economy, RBI will take which stance? Accommodative stance, neutral stance, hawkish stance, or calibrated tightening. This will be the 4 options. So when there is already an inflationary trend, the stance that the RBI will take is a hawkish stance. HAWKISH. Hawk is an animal which is known to have very bright eyes. It can see from a long distance. So here the hawkish eye is basically to control the inflation from a long distance. That's the logic. Okay? That's why it is called hawkish stance. A hawkish policy also indicates tight monetary policy. Yes, when the central bank increases the rates or tightens the monetary policy, banks to increase their rate of interest on loans to end borrowers, which in turn curbs the demand in the financial system. Okay? Then calibrated tightening, very, very important. Please make a note. Calibrated tightening means very particularly seeing and doing tightening. What it is saying, in calibrating tightening during the current rate cycle, a cut in the repo rate is off the table. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? He is saying cut in the repo rate is off the table. See, your father is giving you 1000 rupees pocket money every month. He is observing for the last 2 months, other than the pocket money, तुम कुछ ना कुछ बहाना बना के 300-400 रुपये और निकाल ले रहे हो, कुछ ना कुछ बहाना. And this is the money more over and above the pocket money, and this is the money over and above what you are taking from your mother, from her pocket money which I am only giving. For example, I am the father. Now, what happens? The father is observing this idiot is spending somewhere, I have to do the tightening. There are 2 ways to tighten. 1, to stop giving him the pocket money. You know this fellow will stop going to the college if I stop his pocket money, on some or the other pretext he will stop. Now, what the father will do is, intelligently he will give him the pocket money. Those 300-400 rupees जो ऊपर से दे रहा था वो काट देगा. He will not give no matter how much you ask, and he will tighten your mother also. Dare not you give him any money. And how he will do? He will tighten there also. अच्छा last month నీకు 5000 ఇచ్చాను లెక్క చెప్పు. So that is how it is called calibrated tightening. So a cut in the repo rate is off the table. It means RBI is not reducing the repo rate. Just by maintaining the current repo rate, means no change in the repo rate, tightening can be ensured. The cut will increase the money supply. A cut in the repo rate will increase the money supply. An increase in the repo rate will reduce the money supply. Because it is calibrated tightening, it will just be silent about the repo rate. No change may be. Definitely a cut is off the table. He may slightly increase 25 basis points, 0.25, or he may leave it the way it is. Okay? Understand this. In which of the following stances a cut in the repo rate is ruled out? The answer is calibrated tightening. However, the rate hike will happen in a calibrated manner. I told you, no, very less, 0.25%, ज़्यादा नहीं. So a rate hike is possible, not necessarily it will happen. Is possible. He may leave it like that, or he may increase it by just 25 basis points. Just 20. See, don't take this 25 basis points easily. 2.25% rate hike will have an effect of multiples of hundreds and thousands of crores because of the volume. Because of the volume of money that is taken as part of repo and reverse repo. So do not guess, sir, 0.25 kada enduku inta discuss chestunnamo, but that has a effect on the market. So accommodative stance, neutral stance, hawkish stance, and calibrated tightening. ठीक है, very important. हाँ, soft landing and hard landing. Come again.
In calibrated tightening, will the inflation decrease?
Yes, that's how the aim, no? Rate hike. The moment rate hike I do, I have controlled the inflation. The moment I have rate hiked or kept it like that. See, market is asking for more money. I am not giving money. I am rather keeping the repo rate same or reducing the repo rate also. It means I am controlling the availability of money in the market. So I am having an intention to control inflation in some ways. So that is how calibrated tightening means controlling the availability of money in the market. Either by not reducing the repo rate, cut is off the table, or slightly increasing the repo rate, so that the demand for the money is taken care of. Okay? Soft landing. See, listen. वो पढ़ोगे समझ में नहीं आएगा. I'll tell you. Whenever an aircraft takes off, after the journey, it has to land, no? It does not land like this. If it lands like this, all of us will go in the pilot's cabin and will be the drivers. The pilot may be somewhere else. So what he does, he gradually comes down. He gradually reduces. And generally, if he is a good pilot, as a passenger in the plane, you will not even feel when you have come down. If he is a good pilot. So, and with what finesse, with what clarity he will, with what you call, without any disturbance, if he lands the plane, it is called feather landing. In the terms of aeronautical engineering, It is called, when a feather lands, it lands very silently without making any fuss. But if it lands very hard, thud, and sudden break, it is called a hard landing. It is called a hard landing. Now, whenever there is a, understand, whenever there is a spike in the economy, whenever there is a spike in the economy, the chances of falling is very high. The chances of a steep fall is very high. In the V shape, the fall is also high. Though the recovery is also fast, the fall is also steep. So understand, when I am doing a soft landing, when a central bank is successful in slowing down the economy, ensuring that this slowing down is not bringing any recession. Understand this. So I am trying to slowing down the economy, but at the same time ensuring that my slowing down should not bring any recession kind of situation in the market. If I am successful in doing that, it means I have ensured soft landing. And if that is not there, it is called hard landing. When the actions of the central bank bring about a recession, it is called hard landing. In news, these words are being used in the news. Soft landing and hard landing. Please try to write and understand. Soft landing and hard landing. Understand who is the player? Who is the player and what is the only equipment he has? Money. The tool that RBI has, money. Okay? Understand. Soft landing and hard landing. This inflation soaring, US is doing some nonsense, leave it. Yeah, very important topic, open market operations. Topic number 37. Good question. He says, sir, what is the need to slow down the economy? Anybody? Good question. What is the need to slow down the economy? See, year after year, listen, year after year, your growth is 7%, 8%, 9%, 10%. Good, no? Why is somebody wanting to slow it down? Why? See, there is something known as the capacity. Understand the institutional capacity. Say, for example, your Maruti is there. Maruti ka WagonR is one dabba car we have, right? Now, can I drive WagonR constantly at the speed of 140 or 130 or 120? No. But the moment I say Mercedes Benz, I can maintain that speed because the make and type of the car is such that it can withstand that speed for a long period of time. So, in some dimensions, an economy may not be Mercedes make, economy may be Maruti make. उसको suddenly तुमने 10% का growth दिखा दिया, the chances of falling steeply is very high because the economy in the past has never seen such growth in a short span of time. Maybe the institutional capacity has not developed, maybe the monetary framework has not developed, maybe the regulatory backing is not there, maybe the statutory backing is not there. So the central bank thinks I cannot sustain this growth rate for a long period of time, because if it is 7 this year, 8 next year, 9 next year, then it will be 10 next year. It means the economy has to be supported with money. So maybe that country may not be ready for it. So the central bank people who are experts, they will say, thoda slow down, not 120, come down to 90, then will gradually 95, then will gradually 100. Because you have suddenly gone from 90 to 140, I may not be able to sustain the speed. In the economy parlance, sustaining the speed is the price support, the money support, the institutional support, the capacity support, agricultural support, industrial support may not be there. So with this reason, the central bank will try to slow down the economy. See, the more fast is the economy, the more chances of a contraction. The more, I told you 4 cycles, peak ke baad contraction. That's why I said the biggest achievement, expansion mode mein maximum time, then gradually go for peak. See, that's why it is said, if you gradually go to the peak, your chances of staying in the peak period is also high. So understand this, the economy cannot be, if you are going like this, your chances of staying in the peak is high. If you are going like this, if you are going like this, the chances of coming back is also like this. So this is your expansionary phase. So you have to aspire to achieve this. Can there be a fall like this? No. Even if a fall happens, the fall will be a gradual fall. So that is how the gradualness in the fall, this peak, this has to be the largest, and the contraction wala has to be the smallest, so that the recovery happens fastest. So the recovery happens fast. See, in an economic cycle, expansion, peak, recovery, contraction, contraction and recovery, it cannot be avoided. If you are expanding, peak will come. If your peak has come, contraction will come. If your contraction has come, recovery has to happen, because whosoever were in the peak who got money, they will not allow you to stay in contraction mode for a long time. They will do something to get you out of that. So now the idea is to come out of the contraction phase at the earliest possible. To naturally slow down the process, the central banks try to play safe, who are conservative in their approach, like India, who are conservative in their approach. Okay? Open market operations. Next topic, topic number 37. Okay, right. Yeah. Why they are called open market operations? So chalo theek hai, they are doing something, they are calling it operations. Why the word open market? Why it is called open? What are they opening in the market? Some new shop they are opening. What is the idea? Other countries also invest. Companies also. Private members. सब technical word use कर रहे हैं. Asha is silently sitting. తెలియకపోతే మూసుకొని కూర్చో అనడం బెటరు. సారే చెప్తారు. Anyone can buy. Now my question is, who is that anyone? He says basically it is a way to indicate that wider participation is allowed. Yes or no? Wider participation in investment is allowed. See, understand, what is the idea of going to the market? What is the idea of going to the market? To open market operations. The idea is to raise money. The idea is to raise money. It means the bank, see, when you talk about the government, there are various sources from where the government gets the money. There are various sources. Bolo. Okay. I am not bothered about fiscal sources. Monetary sources I am talking. Fiscal matlab, chalo tum chalo fir. Okay, tax is one source. What else? Borrowing. Okay, Appu. Borrowing. Okay. It could be domestic borrowing. It could be sovereign borrowing, or you can say international borrowing. Okay. What else? Investment is one way money is coming. Investment में in the form of FDIs, in the form of FIIs, FPIs, it is coming. What else? Okay, loans from the world institutions. World Bank is there, IMF is there. Okay. You are getting lot of money, no? Dividends from the public sector undertakings like RBI and all. They are paying lot of dividends to the government, no? Profits in the form of dividends. Okay. Okay, earnings. I'll call it some trade earnings or something. Earnings, trade oblique earnings. Okay. RBI से भी तो लोन ले रहा है ना? डोमेस्टिक में इंस्टीट्यूशनल इज RBI. ठीक है? RBI gives loan, no? To the RBI gives loan to the government, not free of cost. पैसा लेता है. ठीक है? ओके, प्रोसीड्स ऑफ डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट से पैसा आ रहा है, प्रोसीड्स ऑफ डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट। हाँ, इसमें से शॉर्ट टर्म पैसा किधर से आ रहा है? सडनली यू नीड मनी, वेयर? डोमेस्टिक। अरे सडनली नहीं आएगा टैक्स का पैसा, व्हेन यू स्पेंड देन ओनली द गवर्नमेंट विल गेट। आई सडन टुडे माय बैलेंस शीट बैलेंस इज 500 crores in my balance. RBI is the account keeper of the bank, banker of the government. RBI, he maintains the balance sheet of the government. RBI governor calls at 5 o'clock in the evening. Sir, good evening. I hope you had good meetings, good lunch also. I am calling you to inform that the balance in your account is very low. 500 crores ही है आपके balance में. Tomorrow we have a payment to make of 750 crores. We are short of 250 crores. बताओ क्या करना है? This is what the government will ask. The banker will tell the government. The government will say, यार तू मेरा banker है, तू ही पैसे दे दे. So one of the ways which RBI gives to tide over these day-to-day mismatches, it is called ways and means advances. WAMA. For the first हाफ ईयर, ये हाफ ईयरली डिसाइड होता है कि कितना अमाउंट रखना है, एंड इट हैज बीन डिसाइडेड दैट फॉर द फर्स्ट हाफ ईयरली अप्रैल 2023 से लेकर सितंबर 30 तक द फर्स्ट हाफ ईयरली वेज एंड मीन्स एडवांसेस विल बी 1,50,000 रुपीज। जी 1,50,000 crores of rupees. It means till such time the government wants any money over and above its own money in the balance sheet, it can draw this much amount of money from RBI. It does not have to regularly call up RBI and all. RBI will keep intimating, today we drew 1,000 crores from this thing, and this ways and means advances will be given at the rate of repo rate. जो भी repo rate का interest होगा उस rate of interest पे ये पैसा देगा for the period of 90 days. Right? Now, government knows इसके ऊपर repo rate का interest लग रहा है. It means the government is paying dearly to the bank, RBI. RBI is very happy. Take, please take, because I will get, though I will give you back my earnings in the form of dividends, but I will take from you. Simple. तुमसे interest लूंगा. If you default beyond 90 days, I will take penalty also. 2% above the repo rate वो भी लगाऊंगा अगर 90 days में वापस नहीं करोगे तो. That is the reason why, because this loan is returned within a year, this is not reflected in the balance sheet of the government as a loan, because it has to be returned within the 90 days. This is logic. The second dimension is, understand, as I told you, it is coming at a higher interest rate. The government says it is better I raise money from the market. It is better I raise money from the market. So to raise money from the market, domestic market, because here only who is giving? RBI. Now, if RBI gives too much money to the government, it is creating a crowding out effect on the others. Others will not get money because the entire money is going towards government only. So government is getting all the money, the market is dry, the private sector is dry. So the government will, and the RBI will also suggest the government, do not be reliant on only this. Keep issuing treasury bills or bonds, whatever you call it. Issuing of T-bills. Again, T-bills would be less than 1 year. So this also becomes a source of raising money from the market. So when this route is taken by the bank or the government, we call it open market operations, because from the market, from a wide range of people who are eligible to invest in the bills issued by the government is. Now, who is purchasing mostly this and why is my question. Banks are purchasing. Why? Very good. As part of its SLR obligation, what is the percentage now? SLR? I don't know the percentage. SLR percentage क्या है? I don't remember. How much? 17.5. I have no idea. Please check, cross check it. Whatever SLRs are there, the T-bills of the government or the government securities can be kept by the banks as statutory liquidity ratio. So that is how banks and other financial institutions who have obligations to maintain a particular amount of SLR in their capital, they use this as a medium. So the banks can also invest other than the RBI, other than the RBI. The T-bills RBI will not purchase. The T-bills the commercial banks will take. ठीक? Now, coming back, open market operations refers to buying and selling of bonds issued by the government in the open market, both buying and selling. When the RBI sells the bonds in the market, it means it is trying to pump money or withdraw money. Whenever the selling of bonds is happening, the idea is to withdraw the money from the market. The moment selling, the buying is happening, what is that? Pumping of money in the market. Do not get confused. When the bonds are sold, money is withdrawn from the market. When the bonds are purchased, money is pumped into the market. So that is how it is also one of the quantitative tools. The two types of tools, no, quantitative and qualitative tools. So this is also one of the quantitative tools used by the RBI to control the availability of money in the market. OMO is one of the quantitative tools that RBI uses to smoothen the liquidity condition through the year and minimize its impact on the interest rate and inflation rate levels. Both interest rate and inflation rate. Inflation rate also, understand this. Then quantitative tools control the extent of money supply by changing the CRR or bank rate or open market operations. The CRR also and the bank rate. Bank rate is the rate at which the RBI lends to the banks, okay, the loan. Now the CRR also can be increased as part of the quantitative tools and open market operations. Which of the following constitutes the quantitative tools of money control in the market? So that is how the question will come. Qualitative tools is basically persuasion by the central bank in order to make commercial banks discourage or encourage lending, which is done through moral suasion, margin requirements or persuasion. These are the three qualitative tools required what the central bank uses. Understand, both discourage and to encourage lending. It is not for only one dimension. It could be for anything. It could be for anything. Say for example, too much loans are going for housing loans and not commercial, residential. Understand? It means that too much of money is being pumped into one sector of the economy. When too much of money is following one sector, the prices of that good will go, yes or no? Inflationary trend will be there in that sector. RBI notices this. एक फ्लैट जो 1 crore 20 lakhs में मिल रहा था 6 months before, now the cost of the same flat, same dimension, same make has become 1.5 crores. It means there is an inflationary trend. How to stop? Stop giving loans to housing sector or discourage, increase the interest rate. Now what happens? The moment you increase the interest rate for housing loan, the capacity of people to purchase a house will come down. The courage to purchase a house will come down. The moment courage to purchase the house will come down, when the builder approaches an individual to purchase a house, he says interest rate बहुत बढ़ गया है, I cannot. Then he says okay, instead of 150, give me 140. So that is how the correction of the price in the market happened as a result of controlling the money availability in the market. So that is how various tools, quantitative and qualitative tools are used by the RBI, two dimensions. One is to control the inflation, the second is to control the interest rate. So these dimensions you need to understand. for the open market operations. Okay? Now, understand there are two types of open market operations. I told you in the open market operations both buying and selling happens. But when I talk about types, one is called outright OMOs, the other is called repo. Repo we know, where the central bank lends money to commercial bank to tide over overnight requirements with an obligation to buy them back in future. Hello, with me or not? With an obligation to buy them back in future. But when it comes to outright OMOs, this second obligation is not there. Either selling or buying, that's all. There is no obligation if it has bought that I will sell it in future. If it has sold, I will buy back in future. That obligation is all. When the central banks buys these securities, thus injecting money into the system, it is without any promise to sell them back later. It means only one side of the transaction is there, the other side of the transaction is not there. If it has decided to buy the securities, whenever the securities are bought, I told you when the security is bought, it is what the RBI doing? Trying to, when the security is bought, RBI is trying to pump money into the economy. Now, when in an outright open market operation, it is not promising to sell that in the future. So, it is a one-way act. It is a one-way act. So, this outright OMOs are done to control the inflationary trends in the market without any future obligation of selling or maybe buying in the future. So, it is called outright. So, one-way transaction, though no corresponding transaction in the future does not happen. But in repo, there is a promise to either buy or sell it back in the future. This is the difference between the two. Okay? So, this is the basic difference. Outright repo, if it buys, it will not sell in the future. If it sell, it will not buy in the future. In a repo, there is a promise to either buy or sell in the future. So, this is the basic difference between outright OMO and this repo OMO. Okay? Open market operation. Ways and means advances, I have already spoken. Topic number 38. Topic number 38. Ways and means advances. If you remember, 90 days, the rate of interest charged is at the rate of repo rate, penalty of 2%. If you do not pay on time, 2% penalty, it is written. Ways and means advances. It is called ways and means advances. Now, listen, a question might come in a way. The year on year amount of money that the government is promising to give under the window of ways and means advances is increasing. It means the money requirement of the government is also increasing. Understand this logic. The logic is, with the growth in the economy, the demand for money from the government also increases. Why? Because there would be payment obligations related to growth, because in the market government is the biggest player, either as a seller or as a purchaser, either as a seller or as a purchaser. So, whenever the economic activity, the GDP increases, the gross domestic product increases, the requirement of money also increases. So, over a period of time, it has been observed that the money that the government is demanding under the window of ways and means advances has only increased in the past. When the journey started on the ways and means advances in 1997, it was only in some thousands of crores. But now today it is 1,50,000 crores for 1 year, may only for 6 months. After 6 months, the second tranche will be decided. See, understand, RBI is not crediting this 1,50,000 crore to government on 1st of April. No. As and when required, it can withdraw the money from that account. And the moment 90 days is there, it has to pay back the money. If it decides If it tells the RBI, please do not deduct my payment due which is tomorrow after 90 days, I am willing to pay you 2% extra because I need money for certain project or scheme or some scheme that the government has decided to launch. So that is how the management of the entire government money is done by the RBI. Okay? The idea of this is to avoid any dishonoring of the payment obligation by the bank. Understand this, very important. If there was a government check, dishonoring of a check is a criminal liability. Yes or no? अगर गवर्नमेंट चेक साला डिसऑनर हो गया तो जेल में कौन जाएगा? मोदी नहीं जाएगा. So that is the reason why that is when a banker gets a government check to be honored, and if he feels there is no enough balance, then he starts shivering. अगर इसको डिसऑनर कर दिया तो अगर सामने वाला जिसको पैसा मिलना था, the person who was supposed to get this money, if he is a hot crackpot, he will go to the court. The government failed in meeting its payment obligation. I want to file a case against the government. So to avoid these kind of nonsense, the bankers ensure that at any given point of time there is adequate money in the government kitty. Okay? Try to understand this. That is why what the government intelligently does is, it will not give you the check in the first place. It will make you roam around the government office table to table, it will not give you money, check. Because the moment it gives you check, the second day you will go to the bank and deposit that check for clearance, right. So that is the reason why the delay in the payments is as a result of the non-availability of the money. Okay? This is one important dimension that you need to understand. Normal WMA and special WMA, understand this basic difference. Now, in a special WMA, the interest rate is 1% less than the repo rate. Please make a note. The special WMA, I told you, ways and means advances, interest rate is at the rate of repo rate, but that is for your normal WMA. But for a special WMA, the interest rate is 1% less than the repo rate. But one important thing, it is against collateral of government securities. Even this also hoga. See, RBI is not giving a loan to the government without taking a security. Understand this dimension. That is how there is no deviation in the requirement of security for giving money either to the government. But under special WMA, you need to understand the 1 percentage point is less than the normal WMA. From the prelims perspective, I understand this. Once understand, because the interest rate is less here, obviously the choice of the government will be to go for special WMA first, because the interest it has to pay is less than 1%, less by 1%. So that is why initially the government, after the state has exhausted the special WMA, it goes for normal WMA. So it means the idea is to exhaust this window of special WMA first, then only to go for normal WMA. Okay? I told you, I think this is the amount of money, $1,50,000. WMA is not part of the fiscal responsibility and the budget management act because they are paid within the year itself. It is not part of your fiscal responsibility and budget management act, because in the FRBM with respect to GDP, your borrowings are fixed, no, tagged to GDP. That is the reason why, because they are paid within 1 year itself, it is not tagged with your fiscal responsibility and budget management act. This you should be aware. Okay? Very important. Participatory notes. Tomorrow's paper is little tough, so don't get disheartened. I have kept it wantedly tough to wake you up. That's the intention. Some sections are easy, some sections are tough. CSAT is tough. CSAT paper, because it will come tough. So I have, and please, people who are serious with their UPSC attempt this year should definitely write the CSAT all 5 grand tests. This is my suggestion to get a feel of that CSAT. Any corrections to be done in this strategy can be done now, because CSAT paper is becoming tough year after year. 2013 was the easiest CSAT paper. People can appear only in the reading comprehension and pass that paper. Utna easy tha. But over a period of time, they have made it tough. So if you are serious with your attempt this year, do not skip the CSAT paper. Okay? Now, chalo. Coming back to, suddenly it got reminded. Participatory note. We know the story. Participatory note is basically a certificate which is what you call signifying your participation in an economic activity. With me so far? So whenever somebody is investing money, in the market, for example, you know the regulator of your stock market is Securities Exchange and Board of India, through a statutory act established in the year 1992. It was present before also, but it did not have any statutory backing. 1992 statutory backing happened. Now, to invest money in stock exchange, you have to be a registered entity. Understand this word called registered entity. Understand this word. You have to be a registered entity to invest money into the market. If you want the money to come, it means it has to be routed through a registered entity. You would have heard about this, Demat account, Zerodha account, Demat account of ICICI, HDFC, they are all registered entities on the stock exchange. Now, because, say for example, I take the example of Zerodha. This is a registered entity which is participating in the stock exchange of India called, which is regulated by SEBI. Now, there would be lot of clients of Zerodha. Say Zerodha has 10,000 clients who are investing in the Indian market through the route of Zerodha and coming to the market. Now, Zerodha has to know how much money is coming from whom. This SEBI does not know where the money is coming from. The SEBI only knows that the money is coming from a registered entity. Now, what this registered entity will do, Zerodha, what it will do is, if I go to Zerodha saying I have 1 crore rupees to invest in the market. When I go to Zerodha, he will give me a note saying your participation in this stock market is to the tune of 1 crore rupees. This document which he is giving to the individual is called a participatory note. And while giving that, he is taking your KYC, know your customer. All the dimensions of KYC norms are applicable, and he will take all the information from you and keep it with him. When he is investing, he has to inform the regulator. He is the regulator. He has to inform the regulator. If you are like me, there are 10,000 people, say everybody 1 crore. So he is investing 10,000 crores into the market. Who? One registered entity by name Zerodha. Now the Zerodha should tell the regulator where this money is coming from. So this document which he is giving to them is known as a participatory note. Why this has become important is, over a period of time, in the absence of this document, the money that was tainted money, was coming to the stock market, thereby increasing the question in prelims will come, which of the following steps were taken with an intention to reduce the volatility in the stock market? He will give options 1, 2, 3, 4. KYC norms, participatory notes, regulatory guidelines, very, very important, wire transfer related information, customer due diligence. All these topics are related to reducing the, what is the penultimate aim? To reduce the volatility in the market. ऐसा prelims में question आएगा. ठीक है? ठीक है? This is about your participatory note. Topic number 39. Do not get carried away by big word, offshore, derivative, intervention and all. डरना नहीं उनको देख के, सब बकवास है. ठीक है? Don't worry. Small. All stringent, all words no I have used, no, due diligence, stringent registration, all this processor, the penultimate aim is to reduce the volatility in the market. Okay? Yeah, one question, NPCI should be there in your paper. This word NPCI should be there because these people are doing lot of work from in the domain of banking. एक NPCI का एक rival entity government is willing to create, new umbrella entity the government is planning to create. Basically what they want is the NPCI to do bigger jobs, let somebody else take care of the retail segment. That is what the idea of the government is, or the RBI you can say, because they are all regulated by the RBI. Now the NPCI is the National Payments Corporation of India. What it is doing? It is an what you call an umbrella organization for operating retail payments and settlement systems in India. Payments and Settlement System Act 2007. Payment and Settlement Systems Act. Box banao. Please. Payments and Settlement Systems Act 2006-2007 we write it, 2007. Okay, Payment and Settlement System, definitely some linking question might appear. So it says, it has been incorporated as a not-for-profit company under the provisions of section 25. Very important. Not for profit. Your RBI is also not for profit organization, if you are aware. Okay? Because if it starts with an intention to play in the market, with an intention to make profit, nobody can stop it. Okay? So that is why RBI also does not have an intention to make profit, not for profit. Under the provisions of section 25 of the Companies Act 1956, now section 8 of the Companies Act 2013. Please Google section 8 of the Companies Act 2013, very important from prelims perspective. Section 8, which are the entities, famous entities. A question might come in prelims, which of the following entities have been registered under the section 8 of Companies Act 2013. Okay? In the recent past, these are the products that the NPCI has given to our country. If you see, all important innovations in the domain of digitalization or digitization of economic transactions, NPI has contributed. Starting from your Aadhaar enabled payment system, your Bharat bill payment system, your BHIM, your check truncation system, your digital rupee, that the e-rupee is coming now, your IMPS services, IMPS, then your national automated clearing houses, and also your national common mobility card. These are all the initiatives or the products of the NPCI. Please make a note, which of the following products were a result of the hard work or whatever done of the NPCI, as a question aega. Okay? What is the difference between NEFT and IMPS? Kaun batayega? What is the difference between NEFT and IMPS? NEFT recently has been made a मेरे पास कोई स्पेशल पेपर आ रहा है क्या? बॉक्स बनाओ NEFT recent changes to NEFT rules. Recent changes to NEFT rules. Earlier NEFT was going in tranches, no? ऊपर से गया. What is a tranche? Which is not a branch. See, earlier whenever the NEFT transactions were getting executed, it was a tranche of 2 hours. Say the bank opens at 10 in the morning, what they will do? They will take all the money, checks and away from the people. At 12 o'clock, 2 hours tranche, they used to execute the transaction. So that is why many a times it used to so happen that you have deposited money, but it is not getting reflected in somebody's account. He is shouting, you have not given my money. You say, Baba, I have deposited in the morning. Maybe it is there in the NEFT clearance. So it was not happening in a real time basis. Now the number of tranches per day in NEFT have been increased. Now I think NEFT has been made a 24/7 also. Yes or no? So please follow those rules. उसमें से एक question आएगा. And the RTGS minimum transaction is 2 lakh rupees. So the basic difference between IMPS and RTGS is RTGS transaction starts with a volume of 2 lakh rupees. IMPS is up to 2 lakh rupees. ठीक है? That is how you have to understand the difference between them. Both are immediate. The settlement is real time. That is why it is called RTGS, real time gross settlement. Real time gross settlement. ठीक है? Yeah, this new umbrella entity, basically understand this, कहीं पे दिया है as a rival entity. Yeah, understand this. It has just put on hold. RBI has put on hold giving license to an entity whom it wants to design as a rival to the National Payments Corporation of India. Basically to bring in competition. Understand this. Okay? So 6 groupings which included Facebook, Google, Amazon, Flipkart and others had applied for NUE, new umbrella entity licenses, and all of them have fallen short of the RBI expectations. Some guidelines RBI had given, and all these entities who applied to be this new umbrella entity, they could not live up to the expectations of RBI. Recently, various private companies have directed themselves towards setting up a new private entity for payment system. This new umbrella entity is basically for a payment system, but RBI was not satisfied with the proposals that were given by them, so it did not give license to anybody. Okay? Understand this. These are the people who were also interested. Who is interested? Reliance Industries, Paytm, all these people were interested in this new umbrella entity. Companies think they have infrastructure, expertise to handle payment systems settlement at a larger scale. So they wanted to establish something akin to National Payments Corporation of India. So it may pave way for several collaborative products. So this is a good thing to happen. But because it is related to payments and settlement, RBI had put very high standards of proposals. The expression of interest were very high proposals. So none of the companies could satisfy the RBI's expectation. See, the intent to create a new entity is there, but the safeguards have been kept at very high levels. That is the reason why the delay is happening. Okay? The RBI can hand out more than one license based on the number of applications and strengthen the strength of proposal. The plan is to issue at least a couple of licenses by 2020 end. So this is an old idea. This is an old idea, but recently these 6 entities had applied. RBI had said, no, you have not been able to meet the. That's the reason why this new umbrella entity could not take shape. Topic number 40. Topic number 40. Windfall tax. Why it is called windfall? Because there is too much of wind. Huh? Your father will say, no, double pie nunchi kurustalevu. When you say iPhone, no, he will say నీకు ఫోన్ ఇవ్వడమే ఎక్కువ మళ్ళీ ఐఫోన్ ఒకటి. సో the money is not showering from the nature. This is what he says. But why it is called windfall tax? Because is somebody doing something? How it will happen? Example. War में. Okay. Okay, that is one example. Oil related, one more example. There is a cartelization of oil production. OPEC countries are there. See, there is an, again, DSP is demand, supply and price. The demand is stagnant. Assumption, demand has not increased. The demand is stagnant. The demand is 100 barrels of oil per day. The world requirement is 100 barrels of oil per day. Right? Now, for some reasons, the OPEC decided to reduce the supply. OPEC decided to reduce the supply. Because the supply got reduced, demand remained constant, the price will increase. Obviously, the price will increase. Now, suddenly, the oil marketing companies will get what? Oil marketing companies, they will have to pay more. To whom? To the supplier. They have to pay more to the supplier. Who is getting benefited that you are taxing more? Got the question? Huh? Okay. How? You said oil marketing company is there. He is the person who is purchasing crude oil, doing refining and selling it to the government. Yes or no? It means the government is also paying more to the, he will not keep it. Then who is getting profited that you are taxing him? That is why you are saying windfall profits. किसको हुआ? कैसे? You gave the example. I did not give the example. You only gave the example. Explain. The supplier increased the cost. Example, Saudi Arabia. He increased the cost, reduced the did he get benefited? Think. Increased cost क्यों हुआ? Because the supply got, percentage of profit increased, but revenue, because supply reduced, no? Instead of 100 barrels, only 50 barrels. So 50 barrels का profit loss हो गया ना? Understand this logically. Now, when he is selling this to India, and India is paying increased price, India is paying the increased price. Now, this is coming to the end customer, the petrol. Before this price high, the petrol was sold at 120 rupees per liter. Yes or no? And we all know the tax component is more than 50% in the petrol price. Technically, it was only 60 rupees cost to the government. 60 rupees were earning in the form of taxes. With me so far? Now, if the government has paid in place of 60, 80 rupees, right? The middleman in between them is maybe that oil marketing company. Yes or no? Instead of 60 rupees, the government paid 80 rupees to him. Did he do anything to get that 20 rupees extra? He did not do anything. It means he got profited out of the market situation. Did he invest additional money there? Did he put some science and technology to get the profit? Nothing. Because the market played because of some reasons, who got benefited? This fellow. The moment your benefit is out of no contribution from you, the government says, I have a right to tax you because you are getting windfall profits. Maybe in the 60 rupees also he had 20 rupees profit. Yes or no? Now, if he is getting 80 rupees for the quality, the cost which is 40 only, it means his profit margin is 100%. 40 rupees का product है 80 रुपए में बेच रहे हो 100%. It is a windfall profit. So the profit is windfall. It means that I have to tax you. That is when the government will say, I have to tax you because you are getting windfall profits. So that is why it is being called as windfall tax, because you did not do anything to get that 80 rupees in place of 60 rupees. You did not get anything. It is because some things happened which is not in your control. You did not design it, but you got benefited out of it. I will tax you. This is called windfall tax. It says it is designed to tax the profits a company derives from an external, sometimes unprecedented event. For instance, the energy price rise as a result of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Okay, understand this. Suddenly the price increased because you were getting an amount particular from the entity earlier 60, now you started getting 80 because you said international prices have increased, because you did not do anything for getting that particular amount of money. That is when I am taxing you more. Two dimensions. One is external, unprecedented, and one more thing where you did not do anything, contributed any quality improvement in that. Okay? If you are doing that. The US Congressional Research Service defines a windfall as an unearned. That is why they are saying, you have not earned this, it came to you. You have not earned this. Like it is like going to write the prelims examination without studying anything and passing. वो जो बेचारा 3 साल से पढ़ रहा है वो फेल हो रहा है. So your passing the prelims is unearned. You have not earned it. That's why we say no. You have to earn your success. You have to earn your success. Okay? So unearned, unanticipated gain in income through no additional effort or expense. If you are gaining these profits, then you will be taxed. It is called a windfall tax. It happens from an external event, unprecedented event, unearned and unanticipated profits. If you get, that will be taxed. These are the profits that cannot be attributed to something the firm actively did, like an investment strategy or an expansion of business. Governments typically levy a one-off tax retrospectively, underline the word retrospectively, over and above the normal rates of tax on such profits, called as windfall taxes. Okay, called as windfall taxes. So couple of dimensions: no investment you have done additional, no strategy of expansion of your business you had done. Okay, very, very important. Recently SEBI tweaked certain guidelines related to credit rating agencies. Please make a list of credit rating agencies of India and also external credit rating agencies. External credit rating agencies: S&P, Standard & Poor, we call it, Fitch, and then Moody's. These are the three credit rating agencies, renowned credit rating agencies of the world. India में भी है, CRISIL and all are there. Very important. Try to understand word by word. I will read word by word and explain. It says, at the time of withdrawal of any credit rating of securities, whenever a stock is listed on a stock exchange, whenever a security is listed on a stock exchange, I spoke about a word, no, blue chip. याद है ब्लू चिप की मैंने बात की थी कल. इट मीन्स दे आर हाई रेटेड सिक्योरिटीज. Whenever a listing of a stock happens in the credit on the stock exchange, the security is rated by a credit rating agency. They will say A plus, A plus, or triple A, B plus, B minus, B plus, something like this. They will give a rating to a security. Now it is saying, at the time of withdrawal of any credit rating of security that are listed on a stock exchange, the credit rating agency would have to assign a rating to such security and issue a press release in the prescribed format. So whenever you are withdrawing the listing of a security, a stock from the listing of the stock exchange, you have to give a rating to that security. Even at the time of exiting from the stock exchange, they are trying to give the security a particular rating by the CRA. So understand this. Even if you say for example, understand this word. SEBI का SBI का stock is listed on the stock exchange. The SBI share is available on the stock exchange. Till today, CRISIL was giving the credit rating to SBI stock. For example, it was giving AA rating. Now, CRISIL says, I wish to stop giving credit rating to SBI. It has become too volatile. At the time of withdrawal of any credit rating of a security, the CRISIL has to give at that time what is the rating it was giving to that particular security, so that if it expects a downfall and gives a downward rating, the investor is alerted. That is, I told you, in the entire economy, investor is the person who is in the center of decision making. Because if CRISIL felt the stocks of SBI may fall, and without giving a credit rating to the stock, if it exits from the market without giving it any agency rating, people may end up buying that SBI ka stock. So with an intention to safeguard the investor, at the time of withdrawing the credit rating of a stock also, the credit rating has to give a rating to that particular security. Are you understood? Good. A press release and all, MD or CEO of a CRA and any person within a CRA who has business responsibility would not be a member of the rating committee. Understand this. Very important. Any person who is involved in some business activity also in the economy, he cannot be member. An MD or a CEO of a CRA, if he has got other businesses also, he cannot be member of the credit rating committee of that particular agency. Is very important. So within a credit rating agency, CRISIL is an agency, credit rating committees will be established within the CRISIL. If that committee is giving, and if in that committee MD or CEO of the CRA is there, and if he has got other business interests also outside the CRISIL agency, he cannot be part of that rating committee. Because what he will do, the product or the business venture where he is associated with, he may try to influence the committee to give a higher rating to that particular company. So that is why he should not be part of it. The CRA should have a detailed policy by the end of March in respect of the non-submission of crucial information by the issuers. Whosoever are the issuers of the stock in the market, by the end of March, they should provide all the information to SEBI related to that. See, this is very important. See, this is the list of India's credit rating agencies. Please make a note. CRISIL is there, ICRA is there, CARE is there. These are regulated by the SEBI. Credit Rating Agency Regulations 1999. ICRA, CRISIL and CARE. And in the global we have Moody's, Standard and Poor's and Fitch, FITCH. Okay? ठीक है चलो very important green washing. The design itself is telling, this was in news, greenwashing. The greenwashing is basically, it says the act of providing the public or investors with misleading or outright false information about environmental impact of a company's products and operations. Very important. These have come to light in two dimensions. One is in the dimension of pharmaceutical and one is in the form of industrial waste. ठीक है, greenwashing was in news. ठीक है, act of greenwashing basically saying that your product or service does not have any detrimental effect on the environment, when the reality is that it may have a detrimental effect on the environment. If you have done something, then you have committed the crime of greenwashing. You have committed the crime of greenwashing. So, trying to showcase something greener which is actually not greener. It is an act of greenwashing. This is an act of greenwashing. Okay? Very important. Yeah, this was also in news. Social stock exchange, right? Social stock exchange, understand and underline this name, National Stock Exchange. It was basically under the National Stock Exchange, where the government is planning to set up a social stock exchange fundraising platform that allows investors to buy shares in a social enterprise that has been vetted by the exchange. What is a social enterprise? An enterprise whose primary aim, it could be a profit making enterprise also, not necessarily non-profit making, either profit making or non-profit making enterprise whose primary aim is to do something good for the society. So, trying to raise funds for these organizations under the NSC, they are planning to have a social stock exchange, an electronic fundraising platform that allows investors to buy shares in a social enterprise that has been vetted by the exchange. So, this is how the social stock exchange can be housed within an existing stock exchange such as the BSE or NSE. Okay? So, now presently who is launching? The National Stock Exchange is about to launch the social stock exchange. And who is a social enterprise? I told you, so social enterprises eligible to participate in the SSC should be entities, non-profit organizations and for-profit organizations and for-profit social enterprises having social intent and impact as their core or primary goal. Social intent and impact. Now tell me, a non-profit organization, it is understood. Can you give me an example for-profit organization having social intent and impact? For-profit organization, social intent. Which one? Mama Earth. Okay. Okay. The Mama Earth, he says that is one entity that will plant a tree for every purchase that happens on their platform. Anything else? Any other example? क्या हो गया? You don't know any example? for profit organization, but idea is social intent and impact. Hmm? DSRI. No, but that is corporate social responsibility is the funding pattern, that you are paying certain amount of your profits for the social cause. I am saying companies which are for profit but have social intent as their base of operations. क्या बात कर रहे हो यार? The entire Ramdev Baba products is what? Patanjali. Social intent, no, health. But they are for profit. But what he highlighted, he did not highlight that for profit. ठीक है? Understand this dimension. So where entities are there earning profit, but they are highlighting the social intent. It could be related to education, it could be related to health, it could be related to environmental protection, it could be related to equality, like for men and women equal, this thing. So it could be any dimension. So it could be either not for profit or can be for profit. This is where he will try to confuse you. So understand. Give an example. For profit, but trying to showcase that the social intent is education. Huh? Is there any educational institution like that? For profit? But their idea is not social intent. The idea is not social intent. If you tell Byju's as a social intent, people who have got cheated, they will kill you. And the number is very large. Believe me. Every second, third student I counsel, he is a victim of Byju's. This is reality. That's all. Haan beta? But they generally come under this bracket. Non-profit organizations, generally. Eligibility conditions for being identified. Social enterprises will have to engage in a social activity. Out of the 16 broad activities listed by the regulator, eligible activities include these. Just see, the eligible activities we said, no? When you want to tell that your social intent is high, these are the 16 eligible activities that you should have been, your company should be engaged in. If you are there, primarily there, then you get eligible as a company with a social intent. Because see, understand this dimension. The dimension is what? Fundraising platform that allows investors to buy shares in a social enterprise that has been vetted by the stock exchange. So the stock exchange will vet you only if you are participating in any of these 16 dimensions. Okay? Whether for profit or not for profit. Very important. This has happened in the recent past. Obviously, share is what? If you are purchasing equity shares, obviously they will give.
Shares will rise only if they get profit.
Obviously.
Then how will they get that profit if they invest in social?
No. Understand. The domain is social. But in domain, it does not mean, say for example, इसमें housing कहीं है क्या? For example, you take housing as an element. तुम 1.5 करोड़ का flat देख रहे हो. Do you think the cost of the flat should be what is the cost of what you call making one flat? Do you think it is 1.5 crores? How much it could be? Maximum 1 crore. 50 crores is what? Profit. Logical. 50 crores is profit. When you are getting so much of profit, you will give it to the investor, no? Understand this dimension. Okay? Share buyback. Very, very important. Why this happens? Share buyback. Why the share buyback happens? Why the share buyback happens? To
increase their ownership. Sphere of ownership.
To increase their sphere of ownership. Okay, good. See, understand. Whenever you issue a share in the market, you are compromising on the percentage of shareholding, that is the ownership. You are getting money, raising money from the market, but at the same time you are you are compromising on the ownership stakes you have. For example, out of 100%, 50% of your capital is through shares. Assumption, just an example. Now, an important big player came to the market. He wants controlling stakes in your company. Now, what he will do? He will start purchasing the company shares of yours, and over a period of time, he will hold 50%, one individual. Your shareholding is also 50%. So, there is a fight between two major shareholders of the company. So, once the company starts making profits, generally what the management does is it starts buying back the shares, so that the ownership which was what you call diversified before for want of money, once you have started making profits, now you do not want to diversify your ownership, you want to get back the shares that you have sold. Now, the choice is with the company in future to sell the shares or not. But these companies generally who buy back these shares, they will not sell it back in the future, because the reason why they bought back is to retain the ownership. So, now there is no chance of what you call, generally no chance of selling these shares back again. So, share buyback is basically done with an intention to get the ownership back to the management and not to be left with the shareholders. Okay? That is the idea. The Securities and Exchange Board of India has decided to phase out the buyback of shares of listed companies. Decided to phase out the buyback of shares of listed companies through exchange route and favored the tender offer. Understand this. Understand this. The moment you stop the exchange route and favor the tender route, it means you might have to shell out more money to buy the, understand this logic. So, that is how the idea is. Say when it is tender route, for example, the company had 100 shares of 1 crore rupees each in the market. Each value of one share is 1 crore rupees. The company says 100 shares are outside, I have got some 50-60 crores with me, let me get back my 50 shares. Now, what the company will say, it will tender an offer to the public, my 50 shares are there, now I am planning to buy back these shares. The tender offer is done where the maximum bidder will get the shares. If the company is willing to shell more, then only it can get the shares back. If the company quotes less, if somebody else quotes higher, he will get those shares from the of that particular company. The reason why they do it, because at the end of the day, an investor who is holding these shares, he should not be cheated. I told you, at the end of the day, SEBI is interested in the investor, RBI is interested in the customer, government is invested in the citizen. Understand this, very important. So, that is the reason why I do not want my investor who is holding these shares to feel cheated. That is the reason why now I am thinking of phasing out the exchange route and only keeping the tender offer route open. Okay? And it is basically of the listed companies, What is the SEBI decision about? The SEBI board agreed to move to a tender offer route instead of a stock exchange route. SEBI will phase out buyback through the stock exchange route with effect from April 1, 2025. So, gradually it will phase it out. The aim of this move is to make the buyback process more robust, efficient, transfer and shareholder friendly. I told you, this is the idea of making this particular move. See, if the stock exchange route is open, for example, stock exchange route is open, the company can artificially escalate the value of share. Very beautifully they can do it if they have money with them. So, that is why the SEBI feels now time has come to do away with the stock exchange route and only keep the tender offer route open. Expected question can come. Okay? Please make a note of that. Buyback and all this I have already explained it to you. Very, very important anchor investor related to this only.